Hi everyone, I've had a Garmin for 8 years now, and during that time I thought I would buy a Withings Scanwatch and try that out at the same time. So I've had a Scanwatch for over a year now and I rarely ever wear it, but I wanted to do a full comparison review of the Withings and Garmin ecosystem altogether. The Garmin is much quicker to measure things like heart rate, SpO2, things like that. I just trust the Garmin a lot more than the Scanwatch. I've had instances where the Scanwatch measures half of the heart rate. Most of the time it's accurate, but the Scanwatch altogether just doesn't really give me that much confidence in the data. The Scanwatch is much smaller and should be more comfortable, but the strap that they sent out with this watch that's OEM is really uncomfortable and bulky. The metal strap that you hook up the plastic to is too big and it's uncomfortable. They sell other straps, but they also have that annoyingly large clasp. I think the Scanwatch overall altogether is a fashion watch and should be treated as such. It's not really a fitness watch. It's people who want a decent looking smartwatch that they can say, oh, it does all this data stuff. But I have both scales for Garmin and Withings now, and I wanted to do a full comparison of the two different scales, the watches, and the app ecosystem altogether. This is the Garmin Index S2. It takes 4 batteries, and then you put this panel on the back, and then the switches on the back can change it from kilogram to pounds. It needs to install an update when you first turn it on, and it also comes with these 4 gloss pads that you can put on the bottom so it slides better on carpet. I wanted to compare the weight function of these scales, and they actually read pretty similarly. Each day that I tried these, they were within 0.2 pounds plus or minus of each other each day, if not matching every day. I did this 4 days in a row for footage and lost 7 pounds in 3 days. Very odd for me, but I'm a chunky chunk. So anyways, I do like that the Garmin shows you your water percentage, your estimated muscle mass, and different other measurements, whereas the Withing, it just kind of shows you BMI and weight, and everyone knows BMI is kind of lame and outdated. One thing I don't like with the Garmin scale is that you have to tap it multiple times to wake it up, and it's just kind of slow and unresponsive. That's my only complaint with this scale. I do like the way that it looks and all the different measurements it does, and I like that once you weigh yourself, it syncs up with the Garmin Connect app, and then I have all of my data inside of the Garmin Connect app where it should be. The Garmin Connect app is much better than the Withings app as well. The Withings app is aesthetically pleasing, but the graphs are just kind of like low res. It just feels like child's play. And what I mean by child's play is that it's just more catering to aesthetic and not as much of the details and the data. The Garmin app, you can really get into the data and the details of each thing, like sleep, weight, SpO2, VO2 max, the gear that you use on your runs, you can track that. Overall, you can tell that I'm just more of a Garmin fan, but I'm going to keep giving you examples in this video here. So overall, the scales do measure pretty much the same. The Garmin scale does more functions in my opinion. Here's the Withings watch. It has very limited options of what you can do. It does EKG, SpO2, steps, and then workout. The thing I really don't like about the workout function on this watch is that you can only have 5 different types of workouts, and it gives you a predetermined list of workouts that you can choose to put in there. So you can't add things like skiing, yoga is under other. It's just kind of very simple. Doesn't allow for specification really at all. I do like this little wool case that they give for the watch that you can put the charging cord in there and other straps that you own. A little comparison against the Garmin watch there on the left. Here is the Withing app. I want to show that I have the scale and watch both updated to the latest firmware. So if you go into your watch settings and go to the very bottom, you can hit check for updates. And my watch is updated. I'm going to do that for the scale here as well. And I'm just going to show that I do have the latest firmware for these scales. And so no one can be like, oh, you don't have the latest firmware, bro. The one thing the Scanwatch does better than the Garmin watch is that you can see live health stats during your workout, like heart rate and distance of whatever activity you're doing. In the Garmin, it doesn't show mileage until you've really synced up your watch after the workout. Connecting the Garmin scale is quite simple. You just turn it on and it shows up pretty quickly in the Garmin Connect app. I slept with both watches on just to do a sleep comparison and show how well the sleep tracked with these different watches. But one thing I wanted to show first is that in the Garmin Connect app, you can sync up myFitness and you can track all of your different food throughout the day, and it shows your exact calories. And then those calories sync right into the Garmin Connect app, and it subtracts your estimated calories burned from your day, giving you a leftover calorie estimated amount that you can eat. I think that's a really cool feature, that connecting with myFitness. And then inside of myFitness, it shows you how many steps you took as well. One interesting thing is that these watches track sleep almost identically within a few minutes of each other. So that's a good sign. It does give me confidence that both watches track sleep really well. They both claim to track disturbances and how well you slept, and then they both kind of give you a score overall. Here I'm showing that this is Withings. They show 7 hours and 6 minutes, and my Garmin showed 7 hours and 5 minutes. That's pretty impressive, actually, that they were able to track that close to each other for sleep, because I think the way that they track sleep is how much you move. So they must have estimated the correct time I fell asleep and woke up each day. I do think that is a good sign if you're trying to track sleep pretty well. I also snore and probably have sleep apnea. I just got my tonsils taken out, and that helped actually a little bit. So I'm kind of interested to track my sleep over time, and I do have confidence in both of these watches. Showing here that this day I only got 5 hours and 42 minutes. This one says 5 hours and 48 minutes. That's pretty close to each other. Pretty impressive for the sleep tracking for Garmin and Withings. So the Withings watch uses the GPS on your phone to track distance when you're on walks, bike rides, runs, and the Garmin watch uses its own GPS. And I feel like the Garmin watch also tracks steps much better. Some days they were close. Here this says 11,000. The other one said 12,000, and this day I had 804 on Withings and 1,500 on Garmin, which is quite a big difference. The best part about the Garmin Connect app is you can set up gear, which shows you how far you've run with certain shoes, how far you've ridden certain bikes. And so after you finish a workout, you can come into this gear section and see exactly which bike you've ridden on different activities, different shoes, and then you can say, oh, I've ran 200 miles in these shoes. Maybe I should throw them away and get some new ones. I do like this function. Withings does not have that. Also in the Withings app, they do have SpO2 measurement and sleep oxygen saturation, which measures that at night. You can set that to measure while you're sleeping, and it does show your percentage there. I do think that's pretty accurate. It's very close to the Garmin. And then you can also see sleep disturbances. I didn't have any data on me, sadly. And then your EKG shows your heartbeat rhythm. It claims to notify you if something is irregular, but I'm apparently normal, so no notification for me, thankfully. The Garmin app also does similar measurements to these, like SpO2 max, pulse, oxygen level, and that shows that throughout time. I do just think the Garmin app is better overall. It shows data much better, and it's very easy to visualize things in a time scale over a month or so. You can turn your phone horizontally in the Garmin Connect app and scroll through data, which I think is great. So overall, if you're looking for an ecosystem, I would recommend the Garmin ecosystem if you're really into working out and like data. If you're more about the aesthetics, maybe the Scanwatch is for you. And if you just really want to keep it simple, the Withings app is quite simple to sync to, but the Garmin app is much more thought out and has way better data, better watches. It's just better. Get the Garmin.